welcome back to the Creative Creatures podcast. Today, I feel like it's a special edition episode. Clint from the Getaway Plan and formerly Amity Affliction. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here finally.
Yes, I've been trying to wrangle you into it for some time, and then when I ran into you the other day at the Foreshore Festival, or whatever that is,
Franger Fest.
Franger Festival, finally got it together. A reminder, if you enjoy the stuff we do here, please remember to subscribe and give us 5-star rating. It goes a long way with the algorithms and whatnot. So the reason why this is a special edition is because there's not too many guests that I have on here that I've known since I was 10 years old.
I was wondering that. I was like, how old would have Kia been? But yeah.
I think guess. Around about 10 years old or so. And that's because you were a best friend, a really close friend of my late brother who unfortunately passed away just sort of 2 years ago. So went to high school with him and we're like just always around at the house. And so I sort of saw your career progress. So it's a really interesting one. So I thought we'll go back to there. So it's high school and you run into my brother. You're in the same class at high school, year 7. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
What do you remember about him?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, why were we friends? But I think, because I don't think music came first, but maybe it did. But
I remember he used to gloat about, like, he used to press you into, like, playing guitar, man. It's a good way to get girls. And,
I didn't even play guitar. I was sort of, and at Patterson River where we went, it was sort of like, they had like a jazz orchestra.
They were renowned for musical. They were like a musical school. They had good, but there was no real guitar. They didn't offer any of this cool stuff.
I think they had a guitarist, but it was like jazz. And at that stage in my life, I was like Blink-182, Friends of Rome, Metallica, and I just didn't see a place for me there. And I always wanted to, I think, play an instrument, but like my older brother, he had drums, so I'd play drums for a bit. But yeah, Kaz, he really pushed me to like, if you do this, then we can do this, and like, so that's how like
do you
all
think
that
he
stuff.
Actually came up with the idea or you should join the band and just learn the guitar, or like?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he like booked a gig, a battle of the bands before we even were a band,
before you even like knew the instruments.
Yeah, and
God.
Because I was playing guitar, but I sort of, I don't know, I was like, I wasn't like super into it. And then he sort of like forced me to like, take it more seriously. And I sort of just learned how to write songs. I remember writing songs like in class, but not, with a guitar. I was just literally writing notes down like C, E, and then I'd go home and be like, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Like, it was really just like seat of the pants sort of stuff.
So Jeebers was the first band. I've got the CD right here, actually. And it was a ska band that when you guys had Dylan was the singer that eventually joined. So you guys used to rehearse literally at my house every single time. So I'm sort of there. And you had singers come and go. So I would like fill in sometimes for your shows.
Yeah.
Play literal shows with you guys. And then you had Dylan Bergen come in, who unfortunately also passed away a few years after the band. But he was like a hardcore sort of like punk singer in a ska band. Yeah. So you guys would sometimes hit it, like there was crowds. So like I remember some of the shows were actually pretty fucking cool. Like everyone had like mohawks and outfits and stuff. And so it was a pretty rad time. But so when I was there during that, so you had a whiteboard up and you're kind of very much like putting up the keys and some of the stuff maybe you'd written at school. Did that way of songwriting like transfer all the way to your time through the Getaway Plan and Amity and stuff like that? Like,
it actually really, it did. And even I was teaching guitar for a while and teaching songwriting, and that was kind of the method I was teaching people.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people just sit down with their instrument and just wait for inspiration to come. And I sort of was like, No, I think it's easier if you put up like a bit of a menu and, you work out the possible chords and then you start experimenting with it that way. Like I always start with the harmony and the chords. And that sort of goes back to, how I could write songs in class. Because, you've got like when you're working with songs, you've got like 7 chords to work with. Like 4 of them sound good. So there's not much, it's just a matter of like putting things here and there. So I think, having the whiteboard, that definitely carried through.
Because watching you guys play, it'd be like Kaz would bring in the whiteboard, the texture up, and you guys would break into Blink, Millencolin, and he'd be like, everyone shut up, like we're putting the whiteboard back, like everyone like pay attention, and you do it for a little bit, and then
he was such like a teacher. I always remember he would make Dylan talk to the crowd. Like, and Dylan would be like, there's no crowd here, like, and he would be like, just talk, just pretend they're there. So in between songs, he would be like, so we're Jeevers and like, hope you guys are having a good time. And he hated it. But Kaz was just like, you need to practice. Like, this is part of practice. Like,
I was talking to a friend the other day about having you on, and they go, well, you better start doing your research about the Getaway Plan. And I'm like, well, I don't really have to do much research because I know them very well.
I was there.
It's been a privilege because really, I would say up there with the Living End, I think it's my favorite band.
Oh, wow.
Aussie band.
Yeah.
Aussie band. Really, really rate the Getaway Plan. And so it's been a privilege to see how it all progressed. So you moved from Patterson River to Sandringham, and that's where, at the time, it was 35 hours, correct? And And so how did that come about, actually getting involved, meeting Matt Wright and taking over?
So he was in the year below. I think everyone was. Matt, Dave. At that time, they had another drummer, Ryan. I think, they were all the year below. And Jeebers was happening. So we were kind of just by being like in bands, we would just.
It was like Stealing O'Neill, Miscellaneous and stuff all around.
Like Sandy was like an art school. So there was just heaps of bands. We'd play at lunchtime. But then Matt and I, we joined another band together called She Spits Macabre, who like had it was just a strange sort of, do you remember them? I don't know.
Yeah. Didn't they used to smash stuff on stage? And stuff?
We would just go crazy. It was like, it was a totally un-PC genre called spazcore where like, we used to just like, it was just crazy. 30-second songs, just blast beats, just everyone just thrashing our instruments till like we were bleeding. And Matt was the singer, and then we had a screamer. So we had 2 singers. I was on bass, and we just sort of connected through that. And we started writing songs in that together. And then I went and saw the Getaway Plan. 35 Hours changed the name to the Getaway Plan, and they played one show. And I can't remember who they supported. It might have been like Carpathian. It was some awesome show at the Green Room in the city.
Yeah.
Which is this small venue, small roof. There were like shoes in the roof from people kicking and like, and I watched the Getaway Plan and was like, holy shit, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
And then, I remember one day I was working at Baker's Delight and I got a text and it was from Matt asking if I wanted to join. And I was just like, yes, finally. Because I'd sort of like, I loved Jeevers.
Yeah.
That is where I sort of learnt everything. But I never really loved ska music.
Yeah.
Like Dylan and I, we would wear Slipknot shirts and just be like trying to headbang to ska music. And then I was in She Spits Macabre, which was cool. But, I loved sort of The Used. I loved all those bands that were coming up. And then to be in a band that was like sort of aligned with that.
Yeah, it was right in that peak era of like all those, and the Taste of Chaos and Story of the Year and all this stuff like that. So it was like it's gone crazy, and then it went crazy. Like again, I'm there just sort of you're headlining shows, and you're playing with us, these Carpathian and all these different bands, Kiss Chasey and stuff. You'd like co-headline with them, and then very heavy still, like a lot of screaming going on. Did you straight away get involved with writing the songs, or because they were already good with Matt, taking the and I think there was like Benny Chong and stuff like that. Yeah. So when you jumped in, did you start like writing with them, or did you take a back seat at first, or like?
Yeah, well, I just like learnt all their songs, and they like Matt would use this program called Tabit to like write.
Yeah, I remember.
And so I could learn the songs through Tablet. And I remember just being blown away because Jeepers was very just like chords.
Yeah.
It was just like, you know, like Blink, just power chords and then like upstrokes and little riffs here and there. But like Matt sort of with Benny Chong would have like these harmony, you know, kind of like almost 80s-ish
dynamics
guitars. And like lots of little fiddly bits and hammer-ons and pull-offs and all this cool stuff. So I learned a lot through just like learning those songs. And that was for the EP. So on the EP, I didn't really write much. I wrote some little bits here and there. I didn't really write much to the first record.
Right.
It was pretty much mainly Matt, I think, and probably Benny Chong as well. And but yeah, I learned so much from just like learning those initial songs first.
And so there's been obviously a lot of changes through the Getaway Plan over the years, and starting maybe with Benny Chong, like what is there a theme of why this sort of happened? It was just like you and Matt like have like very aligned kind of vision and people come and go, or was there problems with different band members over the time? Or
yeah, I remember with Benny Chong, we were just writing for the record, our first album, and me and Matt were just like fully locked in, like it was our life. And I remember Benny, I think he had like a girlfriend at the time, and he was just kind of like living his life a bit.
Yeah, okay.
And he would like come in late to band practice, and you know, I would have written both guitar parts, and I would be teaching him guitar parts all of a sudden. And he was starting to be like, what's going on here? Like, I don't want to play like that. And it's like, well, you either got to be here or like, you know, I'm going to do everything. And and then a few other things happened. Like when I think back, it was maybe a bit harsh, but like Matt and I were just super focused. Like we had to do this. And so like I was saving up money. I bought like this Hughes and Kettner Triumph for like $3,000.
Yeah.
And I remember Benny Chong, he was just like borrowing amps off like me or whoever he could get. And he had like this pedal board, but it was all those Behringer pedals that are like $30 each. And then I remember just at some gigs, his rig would just be like not working. And he would just be trying to like plug in all these cheap pedals. And I was just be like, dude, just get a proper pedal board or like, Yeah,
I can imagine if you guys are taking it so seriously, and then there's going to be people not quite pulling the weight.
Like it's not always fair. And I don't always, when I think back on decisions like that, think like, yeah, that was totally like, we should have done that. But just at the time, it just felt like we had to. And I think that happens a lot with like creative endeavors. You get to a point where it's just, you've just got tunnel vision and you just go straight in for it. And if anyone tries to pull you back a little bit, whether it's like parents, girlfriends, like you tend to sort of be like, you're either with me or against me. And like you make rash decisions. But at the end of the day, I don't know, it seems to get good creative results. But often a lot of like friendships and relationships can be severed by it. But yeah, I'm not saying it's necessary, but that's just the way it goes. And I think when you're young, I don't know, what else are you going to do? Like if you've got like this band and things
in front of you.
Yeah, things are going and like, you know, you've always dreamed of touring. All of a sudden you're touring and then you're talking about going over to like America to record your first album. It's like
nothing's going to stop you.
Yeah, like, really, you just go ruthless and it's like, yeah.
When you had your breakout album, Other Voices, Other Rooms, it toned back the amount of like the heavy sort of stuff. And was that a decision? Were you guys just starting to move on? Was it like a strategic thing to get on the radio? Like, was there even a conversation about it? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I think it was relatively natural. Like, it was just sort of like without sort of being too big at it. Well, it's about Matt, but like Matt's got a really good voice. Like,
that's true.
Like
but he's also got a scream. Like a lot of people can't do those sorts of screams as well. So
but a lot of people were at that time.
That's
like
true.
We were sort of, I remember when we did the EP, we kind of just took in like Under Oath, like They're Only Chasing Safety. And we were like, we want the screaming to be like this.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like it was sort of, I felt like with the screaming, we were copying what other bands were doing. But when it came to singing, we had like this completely unique thing. Like, yeah, I couldn't think. But, you know, besides like maybe Silverchair, there weren't too many bands that were sort of like, I could compare to Matt's voice. So it was pretty natural. And we also had a lot of bands tell us to stop screaming. I think this was after Other Voices though, but we toured with Taking Back Sunday, and they were just like, stop screaming, dudes. Like you have like something magical here. Like just, play into that. And I remember this dark night in the van, I was just sitting there going, no screaming. Like I can't be in a band with no screaming, and I'm thinking of like these bands that don't have screaming. I think a big one at the time was Amber Lynn.
Yeah.
With Never Take Friendship Personal. They maybe had like a couple of background screens, but majority of it was vocals clean vocals. And I remember going, okay, maybe it's possible. But I remember Matt wanted to do it more. I don't think he felt like that comfortable screaming.
Right.
It was sort of just something that.
Because, on that EP, it was some of those like, the names like Ashes and stuff like that and all that thing. It was some of it was like crazy, like overlapping screams and stuff. Sudden you turn on the new, it's even screaming on like strings and some of like the acoustic ones like in the background.
Which was the style at the time to do like a ballad and then you're screaming.
And then Other Voice, Other Room. So when that came together, like you were now involved in the songwriting and you would have surely felt that this was the best songs you'd ever written and something that was going to be big, or is it one of these things? Some people hate like, oh, did I know it was going to be big at the time? Like,
yeah, no, I don't think we did. I think we knew City Meets the Sea was a single, but it was the same with the EP. Like when it came to the EP and we had to choose a single, we chose the Suspense.
Yeah.
If Suspense doesn't kill us, something else will. Purely because it didn't have screaming in it.
Right.
It was the only song that didn't have screaming in it. And I think City was kind of like that. It was like, because all the songs, they had some screaming, like Streetlight had like a bridge screaming and then Sleep Spindles. And so we were playing that early on. And I actually have like a recording. We did it like on Channel V live at one of their things, The Lair, it was called. And it wasn't like people were like, whoa, that song was awesome. But we just sort of knew it had like a catchy chorus.
Right.
But not at all did we think that it was like the best songs ever. But we just knew. We were recording with James Paul Weisner, who just did Paramore's Riot. I think it's Riot. Yeah, like the big one.
Yeah.
So we knew like, the ingredients were there. If this didn't pop off, then, what will sort of thing.
And the same because like, so Shadows is a 6 song. Did any of those songs like mean more to you or have a memory, like with all the music videos that were going on at the time and playing them live? I mean, Where the City Meets the Sea was on Hottest 100. And did you have an affinity for like one of the tracks or any special memories writing them maybe?
Well, City Meets the Sea was interesting because me and Matt would go through each other's like Tablet files, and at the time I was studying, I was doing my degree in music performance.
Yeah.
And for one of my subjects, I had to write a song, or I had to write an idea that we would like develop.
Okay.
And I remember just going, what am I going to do? And I was going through these ideas and I came across this one idea, which was kind of like the City Meets the Sea verse. It was like this Tom idea with like a bass line, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to take that. And then at the end of that, I wrote sort of like the chorus, like the do-do-do-do-do, and I remember taking that into class at uni and just sort of showing that. And, we had to show it and then people would give their feedback and people were like, yeah, that's cool. I think you should work on that more. But I didn't. And then Matt was going through my stuff and he came across that.
Oh, right.
And he was like, oh, this is cool. Like, and then he just wrote it in like an hour or two.
The lyrics too.
Yeah, yeah. He just took like, I had the chorus, he had the verse, and then, he just put it like a structure together and then we jammed it and it was like, it came together so effortlessly. Like,
which is probably your biggest song, right?
Yeah, so, easy, man. Yeah.
How did there's a breakup started coming literally after this album, right? That was, crazy. And you guys are starting to play huge, arena shows and massive tours and stuff. So did things just spiral out of control with like fame and, or was it just arguing or workload?
No,
like what?
Dude, it was like I know there was a lot going on for Matt and that's like his story to tell. But from my point of view, I was just living the dream. Like we were like,
just on cloud nine.
Yes, we were hottest 100. We were doing Big Day Out, and I quit my job.
Yeah,
we got to a point, and I rang him up, rang up the supermarket, Woolies. I was just like, I quit. Like I'm busy. Like it was just like, we were doing film clips. It was going really well. And then after Big Day Out, like 2 weeks after Big Day Out, Matt called a meeting and said, I quit. And so we were just like...
So it wasn't like, let's break up or you got like...
He was like, I quit. You guys can go on without me. And we were, it was like, well, we can't go on without you, dude. Like, like for me, we were like songwriting partners. Like it was like a relationship and a business.
Yeah.
And dude, I was just like... devastated, absolutely like devastated, like pulling over the car, crying, just
everything you've
and like had to ring up the supermarket and go, can I have my job back? Because and he, and our manager was sort of like, oh, you can do a farewell tour. I think it'll be like really financially, viable to do it and advantageous. And I was like, fuck off. Like, I just didn't want anything to do with it. Because not Matt quit, but he started a band with his girlfriend that was signed to you. I think that was Unified, or maybe it was Boomtown. But our manager of Getaway Plan was now managing Matt's new thing, and then
so it felt a little bit like, maybe you've been thinking about this. So was it more like the burnout or like his problems, or was it the direction of the music, like, or was it?
Yeah, I think it sort of feeds into that sort of like not screaming as much.
Right.
There's a thing I see it even to this day with like bands that are in the heavier scene. They always are sort of like, they have this not like the other girls mentality of like, we're not a heavy band. Like we love, these other influences and like, we don't want to be known as like a heavy band who just does beat downs or whatever. And like, they sort of go in a direction that have more singing but yeah, it's just something that happens. You sort of get like I remember we got reviewed by MX. Remember, was it MX?
The
train? Yeah.
Train
and
thing.
It was just like Getaway Plan or a screamo band from Melbourne, 0 out of 5 stars or something.
Oh, brutal.
Like we were just like pigeonholed as a screamo band. Yeah. And, Matt sort of got this great voice and we're listening to Radiohead and we would like got all these like really big influences that were out of the scene. And I think we just got to a point where like we did feel pretty invincible. And I think Matt was just like, well, if I just step out of this and then do like this really sort of, like cool thing with my girlfriend and it would just keep, it would just keep going. And I think he just went for it. And I was just,
So was there any conversations like before that he had thrown up, let's get real like dynamic and change shit around and maybe you guys push back on that a little bit and sort of said,
dude, it was the opposite because I remember being on Big Day Out and we were watching all the bands on Big Day Out, especially Pendulum. Do you remember Pendulum? They're sort of like this drum and bass and we were sitting there watching them like every time and going, we could do something like this for the next album. Like we would just like, we would have these conversations of like, we can do anything we want, dude. Like, let's just really push this next album. And so then when he said I quit, like 2 weeks later,
was a shock.
That really hurt because I was just like, was all that insincere, like those conversations? So it was like, there was no hint of like it coming.
Right.
It just sort of,
And so then you guys separate and I assume on somewhat rocky terms at that point. So you're not really touting. And then you wind up in the Amity Affliction. So how does that, you guys were playing with them beforehand. You played shows with them. And so they just sort of asked you, or how did that come about?
Yeah, we did like our first sort of headline tour was with Amity as a co-headline.
Yeah.
And it was like back then when you toured Australia, you toured for like 2 months. Like
you
would do 40 dates across like all these country towns. It was great. And by the end of that, we were just like best buds. And they were wild though. Like we always looked at Amity and we're just like, God, it seems so stressful. Like they were like just crazy. Like
with their partying or the way they like just
partying, just like neglect of gear. Like they just didn't care, like going back, I had my special amp and all my pedals and I would like polish my guitar and they were just like, oh, can I borrow a pick? And I'd be like, you don't have picks? Like, you guys are crazy. And but we loved them. And then when Getaway split, I just went into like this, I was in like 5 bands. I was just so desperate to get something going again. And I'd started a band with a good mate of mine, Kev, and we needed a singer. And I found this guy in Adelaide. I can't remember how I found him, but Amity were on tour. And I was like, can I get in the van with you guys and come to Adelaide? I want to meet this guy. And, so we reconnected a bit then and they were asking what I was doing. I was showing them what I was writing and that kind of stuff. And then, a few months after that, because they were having troubles with their guitarist on that tour and they were sort of venting to me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, yeah, that sucks to be in that situation kind of thing. And, and then at the end of, I think it must have been like around October, they called and was like, Trad called to be like, do you want to be in Amity? And I was just like, shit, yeah. And so I had to quit like 4 bands. I had to quit everything I'd been working on that year. And I just kind of went for it,
And then, because it was the Youngbloods album, is that right?
Yeah.
And did you have much to do with the composure of that album?
Yeah. So again, Amity just been crazy. So I joined and they're like, cool, we're going to New York in March, which was like 5 months away to record our album with this guy called Machine. And I was like, sick, that's awesome. I assumed the album had been written.
It's like ready to go.
5 months, you've already booked producer, we're going to America. Like, and they're like, nah, we've got like 2 songs. And I was like, oh my God. And again, because this is just how Amity roll. They're just really loose. And I just freaked out and I just was like, I've got to write heaps. And I just did, because I wasn't heaps into that genre. I liked it.
Yeah.
But I'd sort of drifted away a little bit. I was more into like the more progressive stuff. So I did heaps of homework. I'm listening to like Ghost Inside and Bring Me and like Attack, all the bands that were doing that, and just studied what they were doing and just wrote heaps. And luckily they loved it. And so I think on that record, like how many songs are on there? Like 10? I think I wrote like 7 of them.
Right. Jeez.
Just the music.
Yeah.
And then Joel would write lyrics. He would literally just write lyrics. And then Aaron would just write melodies. Like,
so that's how because I wondered how those dynamic work. So
yeah, it was great.
Writing, so literally he would write the melodies.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there were some songs like Youngbloods and Anchors. They were Aaron's songs. He wrote the music.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wrote the lyrics, but he wrote, he had like the melodies. So it was really easy because I could just write instrumentals and then
they put it.
Yeah, like because I would write stuff with Getaway, but then we would pull it apart.
Yeah.
Where he would literally take the demo I made and just sing over the top. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, yeah, we really just like started smashing through. And yeah, Aaron was just so good at writing choruses. I just, I'm lucky in my career like that. The 2 main songwriters I've worked with has been Aaron and Matt, because they're just incredible at writing like choruses. And like, that's really hard. I've started other bands and it's so hard to find someone who can just belt out a chorus that you can just already hear like in the clubs and everything.
So now they've split up those 2, the 2 singers. So did you sense that coming? Like in terms of was there any conflict or like, or did they get along really well back then, or was there like?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, like, because again, the Amity it was just kind of crazy. They're sort of like they're the kind of guys that would be just like, fuck you, and then I love you, like, within the span of an hour. Like, it was just very passionate and
hard on the sleeve type of stuff.
Just really, which was the opposite of Getaway, like as I described the breakup, like didn't even realize something was up. And then all of a sudden, we're broken up. Where with Amity, it was just, everything was just, at the surface, and it was like quite sort of volatile. So it was hard to tell if there were any like deep cuts there. And even when I left over those years, it looked like they were still getting along like a house on fire,
time.
Yeah, and just, photos, they got each other in headlocks and just,
Yeah, interesting. And so how did that come to an end when the Getaway Plan reformed? Or, right, so the Getaway Plan, how did you, Matt, catch up? How did you kind of break bread during the breakup of?
Yeah, so we got an offer to play a show, like a reunion show.
Right.
And it was for some charity.
But if you didn't have representation, like they just reach out to one of you?
I think they messaged me on MySpace, as was the style at the time. And and they offered us a lot of money to do like this one-off show.
Okay.
And we were like, it was like a fair bit of money to be like, I don't want to do this, but
had you not thought about like reaching out to Matt previously, or it was you just like this?
No, because he was doing his thing with his new band. I was doing my thing with my band.
Sure.
And it was just like, this is, we're just doing our things. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to get Getaway Plan back together because
you were going so well at that time.
Yeah, and it was just like, if you quit though, dude, it's like you didn't want to do it. So like, we can't do it until you want to do it, sort of thing. And so we did that show. I mean, I think it was just after the rehearsals for that show, we kind of got in a room together again and was like, oh, this is pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
And it just was like, it just snowballed. And then I remember one night we were out, and it might have been after the show, but we just kind of like looked at each other and was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, I'm still in Amity though. Amity's my thing now.
Right.
But we can do this on the side, sort of thing. And which we were doing. And then I was on tour in America with Amity, and I just couldn't, I'd started to get over it a bit.
Right.
And then I sort of had a blow up with Joel and Aaron, and they were like, you've got to choose,
what was the blow up about the Getaway Plan stuff, or was it?
It was just like, I was just like whinging, I think. I think I just got over it because like on that tour, Troy, the other guitarist, he didn't come on that tour, and we had a replacement. And Troy was kind of like the rock of the band. Right. There were like two sides of Amity. There was kind of like Joel and Aaron on one side, and then there was like me and Trad on the other.
Okay.
And then like Troy was like the sort of band manager. He wasn't our manager, but he sort of managed. He wasn't there to manage it anymore. And there was just so much bickering. And I was like listening to Getaway Plan demos. Matt was sending me songs for the new album.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the van just like, oh, I fucking love this.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm showing the other bands on the tour, and they're like, dude, Getaway Plan's amazing. And I'm just like, yeah, I know. And at the same time, like we were on this tour with like 5 other hardcore bands, and all of us are getting on stage, and you just hear like, and I was just like, oh man, I'm getting over this. Like we all just sounded the same. And then, and then one night I had this blow up, and I was just like, I fucking hate this or something. And they were like, well, choose Getaway or Amity. And I was like, Getaway.
And you were in the States when that happened?
Yeah, halfway through the tour.
And so then you just packed up and just went home that night?
No, I did the rest of the tour. It was like, it was all amicable. And I was like, we had another tour booked for Australia. And I was like, I'll do the tour. And I spoke with our managers, and I was like, I don't want anything. I just want to clean. I was, I got my royalties. I probably should have asked for some more money, but I didn't. I just really was like, the tunnel vision with Getaway Plan happened. And I was just like, yeah. And yeah, that was it.
And if you speak to those guys ever, or after that happened, you ever keep in contact at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, yeah.
No bad blood there.
No, like we stayed at Troy's house once, like Getaway, when we were touring up around Queensland. I still sort of speak to Aaron every now and then. I always check in, and like every time they would release an album, because, you know, I'm a fan of Aaron and I loved writing songs of him. So like listening to Amity Records, it's a way for me to keep tabs on him, how he's going as a songwriter.
Yeah.
And so we would chat, and I'd be like, I love how you did this, and I love how you took that. Because they kind of like, they took because I bought that same thing that we're talking about before, the whiteboard with the chord progressions. I bought that into Amity, and they were like blown away by that. Like, how are you coming? The same way I felt about Aaron coming up with the lyrics for the choruses. They were like, how did you come out of that beat down into such a beautiful like chorus, you know? And I'll just be like,
look at the whiteboard.
Yeah, I'll just be like, well, this chord works with this, and you go to this. And so afterwards, they even, you know, I remember listening to an interview on Triple J, they were talking about how they sort of took that formula that I brought in and just like carried that through.
I think I saw you guys play at maybe Soundwave, did you guys did you play with?
Yeah, we played at Soundwave. Yeah, and it was awesome. It was like yeah, you remember those Soundwave lineups, right? This was like Bring Me, and Bring Me were like not even, you know, they were in the afternoon or something. It was like Bring Me, Rob Zombie. Yeah, those lineups were crazy.
All right, so you come back with an album, Dark Horses, which is an underrated album in my opinion. It might even be my favorite Getaway Plan song, to be honest, his Last Words.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But like there's like a Pat like Battleships, there's a few on there that go good, but it different again, like it's you guys experimenting with the genre and that kind of thing. And it's funny that you like, when you contrast it with Amity, who pretty much sort of run the same sort of thing all the way through their careers.
Yeah.
And you guys changing it up, it's funny because like it shows you guys are very serious musicians who take a lot of influences, and you bring new fans in and other people that have their music tastes evolved, but also potentially ostracizes like some of the crew who are like waiting for that old school, like the heavy stuff. Because then people love other voices, other rooms, and you often will play festivals where you like play that album in full. Were you ever tempted to go back and revisit any of that, or
in a way, like I think like Matt's definitely, he wants to try everything like experimentation wise, and he wants to get as weird as possible.
Right.
But I sit in the middle. I think like I definitely, I see myself as a little bit of a conduit between the fans and the band, like, because I still love that stuff as well. Like, and I think we do it well. I'm always looking for a middle ground, which I think but then again, in my opinion, I think we kind of did have that with like I feel like Battleships. Yeah, Battleships was kind of like there, but even like Landscapes, the first song, like Matt had sort of like this soft opening, and I remember being like, nah, dude, we've got to put like the heavy big chorus right at the start. Yeah. I was always sort of conscious of like, like, no, we're going to sort of like hit the same sort of points that we did in other voices, not because I just wanted to rehash that, but I just felt like as an album, it was really sort of palatable. It was easy to listen to. It didn't go for too long, didn't drag on in bits, even though Dark Horses drags on a lot. Like it's 10 songs, but it goes for over an hour. Yeah, that one of them, Dreamer or something like that. Yeah. And we go into like this jazz jam. But I love that. I love that. I sort of like, I'm always willing to pull it in. But if I think it's sounding good, even no matter how weird it's going, then I'm just like, let's just keep going with it.
The other song I like Dark Horse is the song as well.
Yeah.
But so I thought did I not see a post from you a while ago saying that you might bring it back, or was there a plan to come back with Getaway Plan? Like what is the state of it now? Is it?
So we did a tour 2 years ago now, maybe longer. and it was good. It felt good, and we decided to write more music. We got together and we're like, yeah, let's do it. And we sort of chatted about it for a long time without writing music. And then we started swapping ideas. We were jamming, and it just has sort of been, it's just taken a long time because I've sort of been busy with doing other stuff. Dan, our drummer, is really busy. He plays for Eka Vandal,
Right.
who is just popping off right now. So he's like just touring the world with Limp Bizkit and, you know, just living my my teenage dream. And it's just, I think just because we're older, it just takes way longer to get together. Like, you know, even if you're just like trying to go out for beers with the boys when you're like in your late 30s or something, it's hard to get everyone together. Everyone's like working different hours. And
we just went down to Bendigo to see Good Charlotte and Yellowcard and stuff. And oh my God, we ended up all there, but it was hard to wrangle everyone there. So getting the band back together would be just that on steroids.
Yeah. And like we've written a lot of stuff, but it just hasn't come together as a Getaway Plan sort of record just yet. Like there's well over 100 ideas floating about. But because Matt's done other projects and I've done other projects, I think a lot of those ideas are just like from those other projects waiting to be molded into Getaway Plan stuff. But that takes a bit of time. So we have a couple of good songs. And on that tour, we did play 2 or 3 new ones and they, you know, people like them. But it's just completely different too now. It's not like back in the day, you just go, all right, we're going to do an album. Yeah. And you made an album.
Yeah.
You recorded it, the record label paid for it, you toured it for a couple of years. But now it's like, what do we do an album? Do bands do albums? Like, or should we do a single?
Or an EP,
or should we do a trail of singles? The waterfall method or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, and then it's like, you know, and we have these meetings and we go, yeah, I think social media is like more important than anything now. It's like, should we just do social media for a while? Like, and you sort of get bogged down in those details and then you start to feel a bit like just out of the loop and past your prime a bit because like when we started out, it was like MySpace and we dominated MySpace. We just like had our top 8. It was perfect. Like
it's so, I just had Kiss Chasey on that last week and the parallels, they're saying all the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like social media to them, just like, you know what, like we tried it. They're going to give it like kind of a go, but they're like, you know, we're just going to just start playing music and just release the album. So they've gone back a little bit to traditional mode. But it's a sign of those times, isn't it? But, and then on the other side, I had Play Lunch, and they really drive by social media and just do social media first.
Yeah.
But so anyway, for Getaway Plan fans, there's hope and likelihood that someday there'll be new music.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like we want it to happen. Like Matt and I are the biggest Getaway Plan fans there are. Like I know there might be people listening and they're like, no, the Getaway Plan's it's like, no, we love the Getaway Plan the most. Like on tour, we would just be listening to our own albums and be like, oh, hey, listen to Red Flag with these headphones. And I'll be like, whoa, I can totally hear this. Like,
and I'm sure more bands do that than they let on.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you if you got that music that great?
Oh, dude.
And do you think, could you convince him to dust off a scream on one of the songs, or is he parked that for good?
Yeah, I reckon he might be past that. But when it has come up with screaming stuff, because there are songs that we do want screaming in, we were like, let's just get someone else, like a guestie from another band.
Right, because Matt really dislikes doing it so much?
I think so, yeah. I think
for his voice, or just doesn't like the idea of lowering himself?
Yeah, I think he just, like he still can do it. Like when we would play the old stuff, he can still do it.
Oh, yeah, true.
I think it was more just him, like Matt loves sort of like collaborating. So I think it was just more just getting someone else who can do it really well. And then you get like the extra artists on it, and I've heard that plays well on social media and on Spotify. You know, it's got a release from 2 artists, but yeah, there have been a couple of songs where he was the one who was like, I think we should have screaming on it. Like I would never like tell him what to do with his voice, but he was like, yeah. So it's similar style. If anything, I think because as Matt's grown older, he can't sing as high.
Right.
So we're tuning lower now. So it's some of the new stuff is like heavier than anything we've done. So it lends itself well to like screaming.
Yeah, because some of the biggest, like I'd say Parkway Drive, it's crazy how well they've maintained their, like how big they are, still headlining over America, like huge American acts will come over. And it's like Parkway Drive are like still headlining and it's crazy. And the fact that they do that by keeping this, I'm a little bit torn on it myself, like, because on one hand, I guess I like hearing bands experience. One of the reasons why I always like the first like 4 Blink albums, like how they changed enough each time. And then to me, it kind of like it's pinnacle, like that self-titled album.
Yeah.
So I respect that. And then at the same time, you look at bands like Parkway where the fans just love it so much that they have just made, and Amity to a similar extent, just like love it so much. So I'm like, it would be interesting to see you guys revisit something like From Over, like even if it was just one track when you come back. And,
I think that with Parkway, Parkway have experimented a bit. I haven't listened to all the albums, but I remember listening to Atlas, which is probably now like 10 years. But they were experimenting with like orchestral stuff. But yeah, I guess like they're sort of stuck to their core thing.
What they know, eh?
Yeah, which is like they like really love those like soccer anthem walls and like, but you know, it works really well.
Well, they're on the Fox Footy. Have you seen them on Fox Footy ads and stuff now? They play the Fox Footy theme song and they're like on all the ads. It's like it's funny you say soccer anthems.
Dude, that makes total sense. That makes total, and you know, they're probably playing the same bloody stadiums that the footy's in anyway.
All right, so what are you doing with yourself now? You're doing composure for movies, games, and documentaries and stuff like that, and your own little sort of setup. Like how? Work?
So when COVID hit, I guess like a lot of people, I was just like, what am I going to do? I had done a film in 2018, a short film, just a one-off. And I also did the Amity doco. After I'd quit the band, they did a doco and the director, Tim O'Keefe, he asked me if I could do some additional music. So I dabbled in that and always wanted to do it. Like I'm a massive fan of like John Williams, like Jurassic Park and Home Alone, Star Wars. And I used to listen to that all the time on tour. And then when COVID hit, I was like, I kind of want to try and just do that. It was just like, what am I going to do in my time? And so I started learning like online, learning about orchestration and all this stuff and just went, head into it. And it took a while, but I got a few films under my belt, did my first feature a couple of years ago. That came out last year. And then have pivoted into video games. And that's been really good. And the stuff I've been doing for video games is pretty similar to like Getaway Amity anyway. Like,
really?
Like if you think like boss battle music, you know, it's like this hyper electronic rock sort of stuff. And again, it's the same stuff, man. The whiteboard, got those sweet chords, you know, doing cool kick-ass riffs in the verse. And then go to those sweet chords, nice melody over the top, and people go, "This is great."
Is that different? Because when you're writing your own stuff for your own band, it's like a blank canvas. What it reminds me of, I've worked in advertising a lot, and I love advertising, doing creative advertising. But I never was actually a big fan of like just art. Like I could always sort of draw. Everyone's like, "You should get into art," but I find the reason why I don't like love art is because it's just so like. You can just sort of do whatever you want. There's no brief. That's what I sort of mean. Whereas with advertising, these are the goals you need to hit. Here's the demographic. You need to do ABC. So I kind of like prefer that structure because I feel like I'm meeting a challenge. I'm assuming you've kind of got briefs of this is the documentary or the video game and this, and then maybe you put something together you love and you give it to your client and they're like, that's well off. Is it like that or do you have control, artistic control?
I think that's why I love it, dude, because it's like, you know, if you're working on a film, there is no blank page. Like you've got the film already. So there's a start there. And
it's like you said with Jurassic Park and Star Wars. This needs to feel like space. This needs to feel massive and grand.
That's it,
you've got this thing, a challenge.
And you've got like, it's like, okay, there's two people having an argument. And then you're like, well, that's a start. And then you just play like one piano note and you go, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. Right, yeah. And you could do anything over the top. And then that is where the challenge kind of comes in of like, okay, so do I just do that one piano note or do I add strings?
Yeah.
But I think the main thing I like about it is collaborating with people who aren't musicians. So they're giving you like an image that they want, or if it's a video game, they're giving you like
reference. Or
they're like, I want the player to feel this.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's interesting. How do I do that with music? And you work that out. You work that sort of puzzle out. And I think that's what I love the most about it. And everyone's just they're really lovely to work with too. That's like great. They're just really impressed that you can, you can do this stuff. Well, when you're working in a band, you sort of know what you're capable of. And so oftentimes people can be like, no, you can do better than that or something. And you're like, no, I think this is pretty good. Like, you can clash heads a bit. And that does happen. And sometimes a developer or a director will be like, I think you can maybe get it a bit better. And oftentimes they're right, But I love that. That's the main thing that I really enjoy is collaborating with, because they're creatives, they're artists in themselves.
Just in a different way. Though,
like they're the one, they've got this vision for like, and I really like, hats off to these people like who are just like, because they're also working with all these other people where it's like colorists and like all trying to get their vision across. So like, and that's hard to do with just words. And so sometimes they give me references as well, like, and it could be even band music.
Yeah.
And like on this video game I'm working at the moment called Rat Trap, like he's a big Getaway Plan fan. So,
Right, there you go.
So I kind of know like what he likes. And so we've been working really well together.
Well, if anyone's developing any games, they know where to go to.
Yeah.
Clint
Bring it on.
It sounds very similar. Like it's exactly what I was describing about the difference between advertising.
Yeah.
My final question to you, man, is like, so you've been around what I believe is some of the best songs that have been written in some of the best bands that are in this country. So for someone who's coming up, and I know there's all sorts of social media stuff these days and Gen Z crap, but in terms of just writing good music or following your dream to be in a band, like, do you think a lot of it is like, as we've spoken about the theme throughout this, is that kind of, the looking at the keys and breaking things down and, like what, or is there like an ingredient that you think was what's helped you write these really creative and cool songs throughout the way? Or is it like,
I don't know. I think it's just like the thing is, when I first started writing songs, they were crap.
Yeah.
Like the Jeevers EP.
Willie's song.
Like, no offense to Kaz. but they're not that great, and they sound like I was just writing chords down on a piece of paper and playing them. But as I mentioned, like, when I joined Getaway and learned how Matt was writing songs, like that's how I grew as a songwriter.
So it's almost like you take little pieces from people you learn along the way, who you see, and all coming across these bands that have done so well, you can take a little bit of each. Like
I reckon like my main advice, and I've had to come across this, I've had to go through all this again with media composition. Like, how do I get into movie composition? How do I get into games? And it's the same as like music. You just got to immerse yourself in the scene.
Yeah.
And you got to meet people and you got to have drinks and just chat, not even about like movies and stuff, chat about life, and just then they will, you earn their trust and they start showing you things they're working on and you learn little things here and there. Like, as much as social media and all that is huge now, I still think if like you want to start a band or if you want to be a musician, just go to shows, go hang out with like musicians, ask what pedals they're using, ask what guitar they're using, and just do it. But not in a way of going out trying to get this information, but just being a part of it and letting that all sort of like rub off on you.
Surrounding yourself with all that stuff and just keep pushing.
It's like, because we were, we started out and things we weren't that great, but then we would get a tour with bands that were better than us. We would open. And so we would watch these bands every night and we would look at the crowd and go, well, when they do that, the crowd loves that. I would write like little notes and stuff of just like, go from like big open chords sort of chaos into tight palm mutes or something like.
And I suppose even from just how to prepare and the warm-ups and just learning things from these big bands like and stuff, preparation.
It's like, what do you do to warm up? And they go, I do these stretches. And I go, oh, cool, I'm going to try and do those stretches. Then you have a really good show. I remember watching Urethra Chronicles, the Blink thing, and Tom DeLonge's like, I have 2 Red Bulls before every show. And I was like, well, I'm having 2 Red Bulls before every show. I'll give that a crack. But just immerse yourself,
Wow, man, a great career. I really hope that we see some more Getaway Plan stuff, or maybe I should start playing some of these video games. Is there any that I could actually I've got PlayStation 5. If one comes out or that I can actually get access to,
send
my way. I want to play one of these bosses with some like Getaway Plan style music, dude.
Yeah, do it.
But anyway, man, great having you in. Thank you for coming.
Awesome, Keith.
Good to catch up with you.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. That's a wrap.